I'd like to talk to you about synthetic stocks. So when we refer to a synthetic instrument, we are basically describing an instrument which has been recreated or replicated using other instruments. So I'm going to explain the idea of replication using a stock. So in this diagram, what I have here, think of S as representing the value of a stock. And this diagram is called the payoff profile. So really what I've got is I've got S mapped into S. So I've got this is no more than a 45-degree ray through the origin, and it just represents the payoff from being long stock. And what I've done here is I've drawn the same diagram, but you'll notice now that I've moved the line down, the ray, so that it passes through X on the S axis and minus X on the dollar axis. And you can think of this as the payoff profile for a levered stock. So imagine that you've gone out and you have borrowed money to buy the stock. And so this is what the payoff will be associated with that strategy of borrowing money to buy the stock. At some point in time, let's call that time T, if you like. So, and I think the idea is pretty straightforward. If you've borrowed $100 to buy a stock at a rate of interest of 10%, a year later, if the stock is not worth more than $110, then you are going to have a negative payoff. If the stock is worth more than $110, you're going to have a positive payoff. So replication is the principle of reproducing this payoff using different financial instruments. And the easiest way to illustrate that is to consider combining a long call option. So here we're looking at the payoff for a call option at the expiry date. So big T is measuring the time to expiry, and we set that equal to 0. So the option's expiring now. And we've made sure that we have set the strike price on the call exactly equal to this X which we used here, which would represent the face value of the bond which we sold when we borrowed the money, the $100 we borrowed. So that face value would be 110. And then what I've got in this diagram is I've got a short put option. Same story, same underlying stock, of course, same strike price, and again, no time remaining to expiry. So this is the put option at the expiry date. Now, if you add these two payments together, these two profiles, you sum the payoffs vertically because you're summing along the dollar axis, you get something which looks like this, and this is a minus X2, and you get exactly the same payoff profile that you had for the levered stock. So it turns out that you can replicate or reproduce the cash flows associated with a levered stock by building a portfolio which consists of a long call and a short put, both struck at the same value that represents the face value of the bond that you sold in order to borrow the money to buy the stock in the first place. That's the essence of replication. This is what financial engineering is all about.